Springtime in the Berkshires is a time of renewal. As we see our first woodchucks emerge from its den and the icicles melt, we are reminded of nature's wondrous beauty. For amphibians that have been hibernating, a warm and rainy spring night is the perfect time to emerge from their long slumber. Here at the Hopkins Memorial Forest, we are very fortunate to observe an annual migration of frogs and salamanders to their breeding grounds. We understand that it is essentially impossible for members of the community with no herping experience to witness this phenomenon, so we at the Hopkins Forest Educator Program have decided to bring it to you. My name is Darren, and I will be your guide as we learn about the basic ecology of vernal pools, two superstar species, and handling guidelines if you ever encounter an amphibian. Vernal pools are unique aquatic ecosystems that get their names from the Latin word vernalis, meaning pertaining to the spring. According to Elizabeth Colburn's Vernal Pools, Natural History and Conservation, there are 5 categories that determine whether a body of water you may encounter is a vernal pool or not. Most are next to wooded areas, have nowhere water can flow in or out from, be small and shallow, fill seasonably, and have no fish. The last 2 categories are especially important. The special hydrologic cycle allows amphibians to complete their juvenile stage during the spring and move onto land before the pools dry in summer, and the lack of fish in these ponds provides safety for the eggs and tadpoles. These pools support great biodiversity of amphibians. I've seen spotted salamanders, eastern red-spotted newts, redback salamanders, wood frogs, spring peepers, green frogs, pickerel frogs, gray tree frogs, and American toads, all within a quarter-mile radius of the pond. During my trips to the woods in the dark, wood frogs were the most common species I saw. In this clip, every pair of glistening dots on the pool's surface is a wood frog. These frogs are about 1.5 to 2.5 inches long and have distinct dark masks around the eyes. Their call somewhat resembles that of a duck's. When mating, wood frogs practice external fertilization. This means that the females lay the eggs, and then the males release their sperm on top of the eggs. To coax a female into releasing her eggs, a male would grasp her around her midsection and enter a position known as amplexus. If you visit somewhere wood frogs have been mating, you'll see fist-sized gelatinous egg masses. After the eggs have been laid, they will slowly turn green. This is from a symbiotic algae that provides oxygen for the embryo in return for carbon dioxide. Here, I have separated some eggs and placed them in a glass vial for better viewing. I'm currently raising tadpoles and documenting their growth for another video, so keep an eye out for it. Wood frogs also have a very unique skill that lets them survive the harsh winters as far north as Alaska. By mixing their urine with their blood as winter approaches, they effectively create antifreeze and protect their cells from dehydration. During the winter, the wood frog's body freezes and their internal organs stop functioning, but are revived as soon as spring comes. The second species we commonly see at the vernal pools in Hopkins Forest is the spotted salamander. These can be quite large, ranging from 4.5 to 8 inches. They can be quickly identified by their bright yellow spots on the back. These shy creatures are rarely found in broad daylight. They don't tend to wander far from the body of water they were born in, so if you see a spotted salamander in a pool during mating season, chances are they're hiding somewhere under a mile away during the rest of the year. Spotted salamanders have a different mating ritual. Males will congress in pools and deposit their sperm in white mucus packets known as spermatophores, which are picked up by the females. The females fertilize their eggs internally and lay opaque, kidney-shaped egg masses. These egg masses also turn green from the symbiotic algae. I do not have footage of these egg masses, so maybe you can discover them yourself.
If you're going to search for amphibians, you should make some preparations beforehand. First, make sure your hands have no open wounds. While the odds of infection are low, it is still possible if you are not careful. I do not recommend wearing gloves because most fabrics are too rough and they prevent you from maintaining a good hold on the animal. Second, I always like to bring a bottle of water and some hand sanitizer. Always wet your hands before and sanitize after touching the amphibians. However, do not leave any chemicals on your hand before touching the animals since they have very sensitive skin. Lastly, please make sure that you're mentally prepared before handling frogs or salamanders. I've seen too many people drop or throw the animal because they were startled by the texture and sudden movement.
Now let's go over handling frogs. Most frogs we have here are pretty small, making them a bit difficult to handle. Quickly but gently grab the frog and wrap your fingers around it. Notice how after grabbing the frog, it was kicking and I could not hold it easily. To shift to a proper handling position that is comfortable for you and the frog, wrap your fingers around its midsection. I like to gently press my thumb on their backs to improve my grip. Most frogs do not have ribs, so very often their bodies would flatten if held. Don't worry, they won't be hurt as long as you don't hold them in a death grip. This spring peeper actually had a leech on his body and we safely removed it for him. Here's another example with a wood frog. It was not very cooperative and made it more difficult to get into a proper handling position. I hold larger and stronger frogs with their legs straightened to prevent kicking, like in this clip. When releasing the frog, put it at the edge of the water if you are near water. If not, placing them next to the base of a tree or a rock would work. Salamanders and newts are much easier to handle. They don't tend to move as much once caught, so just make sure to support their bodies on your hand. Finding a salamander can be quite tricky. During the day, they like to hide under large logs, and when you flip them over, they will often scurry away. Quick eyes and hands are important here. Always assume salamanders and newts are mildly toxic. Make sure to check your hands before handling them, and always rinse and sanitize your hands after. When releasing a salamander, make sure to put them next to some sort of structure they can hide under and cover them with leaves.
By the time this video is published, it will be too late to see the mass mating event. However, that doesn't mean you don't have a chance to go herping. Josiah's Pond at Sheep Hill is a great place to see wood frogs and their egg masses. Turning over logs in Hopkins Forest may yield a salamander or two. Just keep your eyes peeled when you're outside, and you'll be surprised at what you can find. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them below. Thank you for watching.